Coming up on the Lui Diaz Podcast.
The view hit me, and it was as if some higher energy was saying to me, this is it, this is what you've been searching for your entire life. And I just started crying, looking at this view out in front of me. It was a beautiful experience.
Hello, and welcome to the Lui Diaz Podcast. Every day, I come across some of the most incredibly fascinating and authentic people from all walks of life. And together, we're inviting you in to be our special guest as we take you through some of their amazing experiences, adventures, and journeys. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy this episode of the Lui Diaz Podcast. Yes, welcome to the Lui Diaz Podcast. I've been looking forward to this.
It's been a long time in the making.
Yeah, when I first sort of approached you, you may have been in Mongolia at the time.
I think it was back in Mongolia.
I think one of the things that really caught my eye about you is that I think you were really honest in one of your posts about getting closer and closer to your goal of being able to, be a full-time content creator.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And
I remember that.
Yeah, there's just this part of me that really loves, that honesty and that striving and that connection that content creators can have with their followers, I guess, and their fans. And yeah, I feel like now more than ever, you're seeing more people be honest and saying, hey, yeah, this is what I'm going for. And thank you everyone for supporting me and stuff like that. And I really love that vulnerability and that honesty and that sincerity.
Yeah, you can't just show, the highlight all the time. There has to be I'm a person too. This is not just the highlight reel. Also, there's a life behind this. So yeah, you have to show both sides.
And so who are you, Nic Bucci? And what kind of journey are you taking us on today?
That's a big question. Who am I? I'm still trying to figure that one out, to be completely honest. But the journey that we're going on today is we'll be heading off to Europe, and then we'll have a short detour off into Middle Earth before back to the mammoth steppes of Asia. Basically a self-discovery journey. And
so where did it start? Like this journey on to finding Middle Earth and sort of living out this fantasy?
Right, so it sort of started around 2015. I was in university and not really happy with the direction that I was going in, and I thought I need a change. So long story short, once I finished, I went over to London to pursue a very different direction. So I went off to be an actor, more or less. And in that time, a friend of mine said to me, do you want to go and hike through Iceland? I'm like, yeah, sure, that'd be fun. I think it's in the top 10 best hikes in the world that you can do. It's called the Landmannalaugar Trail. I've definitely pronounced that wrong. Mm-hmm. But it's a 5-day hike through southern Iceland. And I thought, okay, I've hiked through Nepal. I've hiked through New Zealand. I've grown up sort of hiking with my family. So I can do this. And I'll never forget it. The day I die. It was just the most intense experience I've ever experienced in my life. We were going through, and the first day we were hiking from the first hut, and the lady at the start, she said, there's a big weather system coming. So you have to skip the first day, and you have to basically do 2 days in one. Otherwise, you'll be caught in this massive snowstorm and you'll have to wait it out for several days. And we didn't have that time. So it wasn't that far. It was something like 20 kilometers. But we didn't realize, because it was winter, it was around September, that the sun started to set, quite early. So we come up and over this crest, and then at the bottom of the hill that was meant to be over this crest was our camp. And as we came up and over, it was this huge valley, like this massive big mountains of green and yellow, and it was lit up with the sun. It was like yellow and orange, and because there was rain in the distance, there was like this rainbow happening, and there was snow off in the mountains behind. And the view hit me, and it was as if some higher energy was saying to me, this is it, this is what you've been searching for your entire life. And I just started crying, looking at this view out in front of me. It was a beautiful experience. I'm like, this is my Bilbo Baggins moment. This is my moment where you realize what you want to do with the rest of your life. You want to see more. You want to explore more. I was a bit confused at this point about what I wanted to do, with life and all that stuff. And then seeing that view, I was like, okay, I need to see the world. I need to see more of this, because this is basically what I'm here for, is to see as much as I can in the short amount of time that we've got. And yeah, it was a very powerful moment. And then we walked down and got to camp, and we got a massive storm that came ripped through the valley, and it was a very long night. But it was worth it for that very brief moment in time.
Wow. Yeah. Really powerful. And were you just about to choke up with tears just then? Because,
Yeah, I had to stop myself.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because we have these experiences sometimes in life when we think back to them, they're so like that. They bring back. It's not just like a visual memory; it's a feeling, right? And that feeling is intense.
Yeah, it was so raw because it was a long day. It was worn out. Everything was sore, and then just this moment just reignited this deep fire from within. It was just the feeling of being so alive and so connected and so real in that moment, because there's so much is, especially me being on social media quite actively, being connected to the real world. It all pulled in at once, and it was a wonderful moment.
So it sounds like your first kind of real adventure that you had, right? It doesn't sound like there was much that happened before this that sort of inspired you in this kind of way. Or was there? Was there something else, like, some journeys that you'd been on earlier in life that sort of said to you, yeah, I need something bigger now?
It's interesting. It's a very good question, I will say. I went to London, and that really opened my eyes to the rest of the world, because there wasn't much in the way of, seeking more. So I always felt like I needed to see more, I need to do more. And then London sort of gave me that stepping stone. But in terms of real adventure, that was the first. Many other things happened during that hike. I nearly got thrown off a mountain in gale force wind. We had to sort of camp out in a sheep shed for several hours because this huge storm came through, and walking across a glacier, and half the glacier snapped off that we were walking across. So it was all it was a big adventure, and yeah, it was the first real adventure.
Yeah, so I guess after Iceland, which sounds like such an incredible first adventure, like such a wild experience, I guess you're headed back to London, right? And you're getting back into the swing of acting. Is that how it went?
Yeah, and it was very much like I got back, and it was only 5 days. It was only sort of 5 or 6 days in Iceland, but it was so intense, and it was as if I was there for 3 or 4 weeks. That's how it felt, because it was just every minute you were just so present for everything, and that's what sort of, I guess, reignited this desire for wanting more, wanting adventure, and not wanting to sort of settle for a mediocre life, let's say. Because when I got back to London, it was all very much like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. It was a wonderful experience, but it was also very routine. And then I thought, can I keep living like this? Can I keep doing the 9 to 5 or, the grind, let's say? And then COVID happened sort of, 6 or 8 months later, and I was forced to come back to Australia at that point. And I think that was a very big blessing in disguise. Well, I know it was a blessing in disguise. And in that time, I went and did some other things. Like I'd walked from Sydney to Newcastle, which was a 270 kilometre walk over 2 weeks. So that was a big experience to sort of push the realms of, well, we can't travel, so what's the closest thing I can do that feels like traveling? And that was one of the things I did. And then, then I went to Mongolia, as you saw, and did a little mini lap around Asia and Europe before coming back here only a week ago.
And I guess since Iceland, have you been able to sort of, recapture that feeling again? Did you find it in Mongolia? Did you find it in Europe? Or has that moment in Iceland always been sort of like that peak? And within you, is there a searching for that sort of next feeling that reminds you of that feeling you had in Iceland?
No, it's interesting, because I thought that maybe it might happen in Mongolia, but it didn't. I think Iceland just was it. That was the moment that sort of opened my eyes up to everything. And so I haven't been sort of chasing the next high, to so to speak. I haven't been looking to recreate that feeling. It's more like that was the feeling that kicked off this desire to be closer to nature, to see more, and to be present more, and experience as much as I can in the short time that we have.
Yeah, I love the way you put that. Tell me, what have you got in store now moving forward into the future? What are you looking forward to? How do you see your work changing and what you're doing in your life sort of evolving?
It's interesting. Like the social media is a relatively untapped resource in that you can create a life for yourself where you can be free. Like that, it does offer that to you, and there's not many avenues in any sort of work that allow you to be so free as social media. And yes, it is a grind. And yes, you know, some people don't get it, but if you don't try, it's never going to work, kind of thing, to use that cliche. So I think the way forward is putting a lot more energy and effort into that, because it is starting to show fruits after all these years. So it feels like this is what I want to do, and this is what I need to do, because this is what brings me the most purpose, is the social media. So yeah, going forward is going to be a lot more active on social media.
I'm still kind of like trying to maybe squeeze it out of you somehow. I'm not sure, but there's something about some of your reels that just really gets me. Like, they're emotional. They're the kind of thing that you stop and think about. You don't just flick through. The quotes that you pair up with your images, they make you think, they make you feel something. You know, what are you trying to do when you create that? Are you creating stuff for yourself? Are you trying to tell yourself a story or pump yourself up? Or are you really motivated by, you know, feeding others that inspiration?
I'm definitely not telling myself that. I spent a lot of my younger years using specific motivational talks and videos and speeches, you know, to kick me into gear, because I wasn't someone who was initially wanted to push myself, because, if you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it's scary, it's uncomfortable. No one likes being uncomfortable, but you know, watching and consuming that positive energy made me move forward and made me do what I'm doing now. And I think if I could sort of give that kick to even just one person, then my work is done, because someone out there needs to hear this, the sometimes uncomfortable reality that, you know, we're all going to die one day. So if you are thinking of something and then you haven't acted on it, you have to act on it, because it's going to be there, and you're not going to get to the end of your life and go, I'm glad I didn't act on that feeling that I've been wanting to do for 50 years. But sometimes you just need that little extra push. So I want to put a lot more work into that and create more, I don't want to use the word content, but to create more content to push myself forward, and to use that as an avenue to be able to explore and tell more stories and see as much as possible, because there is so much out there, and we always forget when we hear about all the problems that are happening in, you know, locally and internationally. We'll always forget how beautiful this planet is and its people are, and we need that push forward, which is why I pair the quotes with the beautiful imagery, because it does it does inspire. It does inspire.
Yeah. When you pair up some of those quotes with those images, do you just sit there and go, God, that's good? Like, that's just so good. I feel that.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I watch something. I think there was one I put out very recently, and there's sometimes you hear some speech or some part of a movie quote, and it's like, wow, it hits you so hard. And it's like, I know that I can use this platform to spread that energy, because, you know, in the day-to-day life, you forget about certain things. Like, you know, I think this one that I'm talking about it says we're growing up, we might not see each other, you know, as much as we used to, but I'm glad we met because we created these memories together. It's like, you know, you need to hear that sometimes, and the general media doesn't tell you these things. So
yeah, you're right. You know, and the reason I ask you those questions is because I'm interested, you know, like where do you get your inspiration from, and why is it that you share this kind of stuff? Because for me, it feels unique, right? Because they're your images, and then somehow you've found some kind of quote to pair it up to that image, and it just works so well. But I love that it's a flow-on effect, right? You've been inspired by certain images and quotes and movies growing up, and that you feel like there's not enough of that stuff out there. It needs to be sort of perpetuated.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many inspirations. Like the inspiration for Mongolia, for example, was there was a show several years ago. It was called The Long Way Round by Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman, when they rode motorbikes from London to Los Angeles. London to New York. They rode motorbikes and they went through Mongolia. I'm like, I need to see Mongolia. Like, that's what convinced me to go there. And then to see it and to experience it. And then, you know, you hear all these things, especially in the West how, dangerous it is. And when I said I'm going to Mongolia, people go, "Oh, is it dangerous? Like, is it going to be safe when you go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course it will be. It's as safe as anywhere else." Like, it's so, it's the fear of the unknown, and that's what stops people from step out their comfort zone, is the unknown. Because comfort, it's nice being comfortable. Like, I think everyone can agree, but it doesn't help you grow forward and move.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You're right. And I think for myself, I think what's kind of held me back sometimes is a fear of the unknown too. And it's like an invisible fear as well, because it is a fear of the unknown. So you can't quite put your finger on what it is that's holding you back, but yet something is.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I said it today, like, I believe comfort is a killer, because you do get so used to the everyday and, the things around you that and, the relationships and connections that you build all around you. And to leave that and, either start again or to venture somewhere that's without control, like you can't control certain aspects. As soon as you leave your comfort zone, you've relinquished control. And that is a very scary thing for everyone to have to deal with, to let go of everything they know and try something completely different. And lots of people just don't want to do that. It's completely normal. So, yeah, allowing or having a medium to say it's okay to do that, be free, if that's what you want to do, then, it's nice to be able to express that.
Yeah, I really love that you're of that kind of vibe, because now I'm starting to understand why I'm so attracted to your work. It's because you do your work for the same reason I do, right? For me, telling these stories is a way of being able to hopefully get in someone's ear someday and allow them to hear all of the adventures that you've had and my previous guests and my future guests have had, and think, I need to do that. I need to get out of bed one day and just do that.
Yeah, for sure. And then, someone can be watching or, viewing countless hours of something or other that they think they want to do or be or see, or they could be studying or they could be doing anything, right? And then they see one thing or they experience one thing, as I did, and it hits them so hard. And it's like, I need to go off in that direction, because it's triggered this want or desire from deep inside, and you can't explain it. You don't know when it's going to happen, but to have a medium to do that it's a wonderful thing with what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And you too. I was sort of flicking through your pre-production document that you so diligently filled out and you put so much effort into. One of the questions was, what did you learn about yourself and or others? And you said that to get anything done, you can only ever rely on yourself.
And
yes. Yeah, I find that interesting. I want you to expand on that a little bit, because, it kind of sounds like a bit defeated in a way of the idea of community. Or am I looking at it the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't write it like that. I meant it in the sense that, like, only you are going to push yourself forward. Like, if you're sitting on an idea, if you're sitting on a dream, everyone, your entire community, to use that example, can tell you to do it, but none of them are going to be able to get you to do it except for you. So to rely on yourself is to trust yourself and to love yourself and be comfortable with yourself enough to go, I'm going to do this. And, you can have all the support in the world and everyone says, I've got your back. If anything goes wrong, I'm here for you. But that's never going to push you enough. Only you can tell yourself, I have to go and do this certain thing. So that's what that means.
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, I resonate with that a lot now, actually, because it's so true. Yeah, it reminds me of a really great quote that I just seem to have forgotten. There you go. But the next thing you wrote was, you can't please everyone, so make sure you give yourself some love.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was very much a people pleaser. I would always try and, please everyone around me. So then, because you're giving your energy to everyone, you inadvertently don't give yourself that much love and attention. And that ties into allowing yourself to trust yourself and to be with yourself. So if you give yourself some love and you give that energy to you, then you can allow yourself to truly be the best version of yourself that you can be.
Yeah, I love that. And there was another question I asked as well. It was, how has your journey changed you, if so? And you wrote, you can take absolute control of your life through the decisions you make, and where you came from doesn't define your character.
Mm-hmm. You can take control of your life. I mean, to trust yourself and to love yourself and to give yourself the freedom to express yourself, then you can take control of your life. And, it doesn't matter where you've come from. As I use an example of someone who motivated me, which might be a bit contentious, and I will explain this, but Arnold Schwarzenegger, he was just a little kid in Austria who said he was going to be this person, and he gave himself the trust and the love to be like, I'm going to go and do this thing, and that's where my life's going to go. And he gave it his all, and he became what he said he was going to become. He only did that because he took full control of his life and said, I'm going to go do that. So that was someone who's motivated me in my life for those reasons.
Yeah, and his story, it's still mind-blowing, whether you're an Arnie fan or not. Like, you can't...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter about the whole... I mean, I don't look at it from I don't know about you, but his political stories or his filming or his movies that he's made or anything. It's none of that. It's just the fact that he said, I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to, give it all I've got, and hopefully it works. And it did. So
to me, it seems like, throughout your life, there's been a lot of characters, whether they be fiction or non-fictional characters, that have influenced you through, their actions and how they sort of took control of their life and went on an adventure. And then it feels to me now that you're one of those characters, that you are becoming, if not you have become one of those characters and are doing that for others.
Yeah, well, it does kind of feel like that, because I was the nervous, the shy kid growing up. I was I wasn't very comfortable in my skin. But being able to take control of that, I've been able to change my mindset and my outlook on life, and make strong decisions about how I'm going to move forward. And that's been very nice. It's been very nice to sort of look back on that.
So I guess you've taken us through Europe with that short detour through Middle Earth before heading across the mammoth steppes of Central Asia. And then what? What happens next in Nic Bucci's story?
Next I have decided to... I'm moving down to Tasmania, so that's happening in 2 weeks. And the reason for that is because I need somewhere cold. I don't like the heat very much. So Tasmania has got mountains, it's got snow, and it's got adventure, and I want to be close to that. The more I've gotten older, the more I want to have that as accessible as possible to me, and I feel like Tasmania has as much of that on offer in Australia. So that's the plan moving forward, is to go off down there, see if I like it. My plan is give it a couple of years and then go from there. I still have plans to get on a motorbike and travel around the world, but I want to give Tasmania a chance first.
Yeah, that'd be an epic adventure. And I imagine it would take quite some preparation, right?
Yeah, well, it does. The amount of work I put in during 2020, just like writing up quotes, and I've still got one of the quotes for a bike plus all the gear on my corkboard up there at the moment. But yeah, there's a lot of preparation, and then you have to sort of figure out visas and visas for the bikes and transport and everything like that, and obviously getting across the oceans and everything. Yeah, there's a lot of planning to do. So that'll come when it needs to come. Yeah,
wow. It seems like you're not just a man of images, but a man of words as well. Or quotes really are the thing that light your fire. They're your catalyst almost.
Yeah, well, they're a medium. In a world of swipeable media, you need to be able to resonate to some things, because otherwise life gets very superficial. So to be able to resonate with something, I truly feel can change your day. And like I think I got a message yesterday, or someone said, I really need to hear this today, thank you. So it's nice.
I read that too. Yeah,
it was nice. I'm like, oh, yeah. And it is good to get those messages here and there.
Yeah, it is. I think that's one of the rewarding parts of the labour of love, that is us doing the work that we do. When it resonates with someone, just even one person, you're like, oh, that's right. I remember why I'm doing this now.
Yeah, exactly. In the social media space, to a degree, you do chase the analytics, because that's the medium that, says that people are resonating with your your work, and people are seeing it, and because they're seeing it, it's making an impact, and messages and comments like those that I mentioned are reminders that you are sort of making a difference, and you are making someone's day better. And that person we're never going to meet, but somehow we connected on the vast sphere that is the internet, and it's been a positive connection instead of just swiping away and then instantly forgetting what it was.
I guess, look, we've gone through everything now. We've gone through your inspiration. We've gone through a bit of your journey and who you are and the stories that you want to tell, what you want to do next, what you might have planned for the future. It seems like there's probably not a better time than now to thank you for agreeing to be part of the Lui Diaz podcast. And
it's been a pleasure, mate.
Yeah, and tell your story. You're such a captivating creator. I left the word content out. Did you see that?
That's right. Well, look, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, it's been great chatting to you. I've really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's nice to put thoughts out in the open like this and to discuss them.
Yeah, and your work, I mean, it really does. It inspires me. It's
I'm glad. My work is done. I can retire.
Yeah. That was your goal, to inspire me. Thank you. No, I mean, like, there is so much content on there, but not much of it makes me stop and think and feel like yours does.
Oh, I appreciate that, because it's there is a lot of work that goes into it, and there are a lot of thought. So it's nice to hear that it's doing what it's intended to do.
And I guess at the end of every episode, I pretend there's a live audience here in the studio. Mm-hmm. And I guess, I mean, if you didn't have anything else to add, on 3, we could just do it.
All right, let's go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Woo!
3, 2, 1.
Yay! Awesome.
We did it.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Lui Diaz Podcast. To find out more about any of our guests and catch additional photos and content from this episode, find us on Instagram at Lui Diaz Podcast.